Is that a naked woman on the cover? The second Pony Canyon game in 5 days is based on a popular boobs and blood comic. The kind of thing you'd read if you want to see naked women get molested by monsters and then the monsters get chopped up by the hero. So I guess it's kind of appropriate that she's there. You definitely know what you're getting into with this one. The comic is about Buddhist monk Kujaku and his fight against demon hordes. Oh, and he's the reincarnation of Lucifer. The comic has been translated into English under the title Peacock King, and this is far from the only game based on it. There's a Famicom sequel, and there's games on the Master System and Mega Drive. Those two were released in the US without the license as Spellcaster and Mystic Defender. This Kujaku is an adventure game and RPG. From what I can tell, the storyline is unique to the game, though it does take a couple beats from the source material. The story that they did come up with is awfully generic. Kujaku is just going around fighting demons and stumbles into a conspiracy to resurrect some really old demons. It's like a placeholder story that was there until they could come up with something better, and then they ran out of time. The adventure game portions consist of a menu, and that mainly has the commands that you're already used to. Go, talk, look, take, use. But then we hit something distinctive here. Spells. Kujaku has 9 spells that he can cast, calling on spirits to do his will. Most of these are attack spells and will get used in combat, though occasionally they're helpful for solving puzzles. Casting them costs spiritual energy, and at the start of the game you only have 20 points, so you're very restricted in what you can cast. Hyakuji seems to be the spell I use most for solving puzzles. It's a low-cost spell that slashes things. Indora is the spell I used most for combat. It casts a thunderbolt at people. The most important spell of all is inaccessible until after you complete the prologue. You cast Kangiten to get a password. As you explore, you'll sometimes be confronted by monsters, and that takes you to an RPG-style combat. Here you can choose to fight, run, cast a spell, or use an item. Now you might notice something about the combat system. You can't see your hit points or your spirit energy. The only way that you can see those is to hit select while you're outside of combat. So if you fight a monster for a bit and defeat it, you get a little bit of your spiritual energy back. There's no experience points in Kujaku. Leveling up is done at story events. However, there is random combat. Certain areas will just have monsters show up, and it makes that entire aspect of the game entirely luck-based. If there's a boss at the end of the path, how much health and magic you have is totally dependent on how many enemies you encountered on the way there. Not to mention the raw luck of the damage numbers. There also isn't a simple way to recover your health or spirit energy. After you clear a bit of the adventure section, there is this guy that you can get some food from. But that is it. If you die, you get sent back to the starting temple, and that's the only real penalty. But some later sections of the game are large mazes, so you could be getting sent back quite a bit when you die. The adventure starts in a small fishing village where a girl's been abducted. If you investigate, you'll find out that a mermaid's behind it, and you'll have to go into the sea to defeat it. Then you get a very long opening segment where they want you to listen to the theme music for a while, and after that you start going around looking for trouble. At a temple you'll try to acquire a sword, only to be confronted by Onimaru. He's a rough guy who starts out fighting the hero and then joins his side. The other major character from the comic to make an appearance is Ashura, Kujaku's girlfriend and the naked woman on the cover of the game. I wasn't able to make very much progress in this one. I kept stumbling into those battles and trying to figure out what I was doing wrong. Turns out the answer to that was I wasn't playing on an emulator. No reloading when the game gives me bad luck. It actually seems to be a fairly long adventure game based on the walkthrough descriptions I found. So I don't know why they felt the need to pad it out with this pointless combat. I think the game looks nice and there's some great character design, but pushing through that combat system is really frustrating. And having to use the Go command in the menu to navigate dungeon environments is pretty annoying. and my views seem to track with what I'm finding from Japanese players. That randomness in the combat just drags the game to a halt. And apparently it's not uncommon for players to have to try a dozen times to get past some of the tougher fights. There's some interesting stuff here, but I think I'd rather play one of the action games instead.